Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete and certified high performance coach. Well, we're in for a fun podcast. When we reverse the roles, we put that in the hands of a person that can drive very carefully through the podcasting world. So, Dave's a friend of mine and runs Desktop, community builder, real estate magnet, and I don't know, real estate something. And we wanted to kind of give,
Not a magnet unless it's the side of the magnet that repels it. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So Dave's going to be the host. I'm going to be the guest. So Dave, the podcast is yours.
Oh my gosh. I've been on your podcast a number of times, and it's so much easier answering the questions than it is answering them. So podcast community, you're about to see how brilliant Pete is and how, I'm making up a word, not brilliant, unbrilliant Dave is. But Pete, you have a story like few others. Tell me, because I've known you a long time now.
Yeah.
Tell me the story of your life
Okay.
pre-stroke.
Okay. I'll go back to 18. I didn't graduate from high school with my class. So I flunked English. So I was in summer school. I had to work to get out of school. I still got in after I passed. I got into Virginia Tech and 2 times failed. So at 20 years old, or maybe just shy of 20, am humbled by lack of success, lack of anything getting traction. So I was tested and I found out I had dyslexia and ADD now.
And how old were you at this time?
20.
Okay.
My parents got me tested because I was flunking everything. I don't think I ever got an A in my life. I wasn't like a student like most. So I always had to work hard, but I never really felt like I could get, something was wrong. I would misspell every other word, and I just wasn't getting it through the traditional way of the educational system. So then I went back and I kind of reorganized my life. All my friends were going through college and I was flunked out twice, and just realized that academics wasn't going to be my thing. So my dad at that time was running a wholesale candy tobacco distributor. And so he gave me a bunch of his business cards of friends that called on him. So I just started calling, emailing, just doing whatever I could to make contacts out there, because I knew I loved people, and I thought, well, sales, that might be my career, or might be my path. So I got a job with Planters Peanuts. I probably was the only one that interviewed, thank goodness. I wore the worst. I wore, if I could pull back the clothes that I wore to that interview, I wouldn't have hired myself. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't have a suit on. It was a mess, but I got a job. So maybe it's God shining at that moment that no matter what you look like, if he wants it to happen, he'll make it happen.
Amen.
So I started with Planters, and I worked for him for 12 years through different various roles and different things. And I wasn't moving because I didn't have a college degree. They were hiring all the college degrees to go into management. So I basically said, you either promote me or I'm leaving. And I went and got my real estate license. So I was almost in real estate.
I never knew you had a real estate license.
I got my real estate license. I told my boss, it's your play. You either promote me or I'm going to real estate. And I don't know if that was a threat or what, but he found a position in the military division of the company. And so I got a great position. So I stayed. I didn't go the real estate route. And I was flying Monday through Friday out of town, young family. I said, I got to go to Atlanta because I go through Atlanta every trip. So I
Yeah.
said, why don't you transfer me to Atlanta so I don't
And
have to.
you were in Virginia at the time, correct?
Yes, I was in Richmond, Virginia. So he did. So came down to Atlanta and still was traveling quite a bit with my daughter at the time was like just born, 9 months.
Was it
When
Sarah?
we moved to Atlanta, Sarah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so being gone, and that wasn't exactly what I had wanted. Plus, it was just tough on the family being gone so much. But it was a great position.
Yeah.
I left, and I left. I had no plans. I just left. I knew that if I continued to do that, I was going to be traveling every week, and I would talk to the senior people and I'd say, what's the path look like for you? I mean, what's the path been like? And I never really liked the answer. It was like, I'm making too much money. I'd leave if I could, but now I can't. And I went, dang, I don't want that. So I just quit cold turkey, didn't have a plan. I was making really good money and it was kind of crazy to do it, but the pressures of traveling and wanting to do my own thing and those were when computers were just starting to get in and I wasn't, I was trying to send emails and I misspell words. It was a mess. So I went on my own and I lasted 2.5 years and I went bankrupt
You
because,
you went on your own doing what?
I bought a franchise, Success Motivation Institute. That was out of Texas. So I started selling personal development programs. I did that, and I was always dibbling. I had always wanting to do something. No focus at all. A friend of mine approached me about the water business. I did that. That was a mess. Burned all my friends, burned all my family. It was a mess. I mean, a mess. So anyway, I go bankrupt. Again, just kind of not knowing what to do. It wasn't the most pleasant time, but you just go through hardship and it teaches you a lot.
Right.
So I probably had more jobs. I've been fired 5 times. I've quit 5 times. So I realized I wasn't employable. I mean, that wasn't my. So I did my own thing for a number of years, and I would dib and dabble. I went into food service, worked 12 years for Cisco and U.S. Foods. I got fired there as manager. I mean, and it was just trying to do the right thing, but get in political squabbles with upper management, and you're in the middle. That's not the place you want to be.
Yeah.
So I really struggled with no degree, not being able to send emails, misspelling words. I finally, when I don't know exactly how old I was, I saw an ad that said there's a grant that they were given to people that adult dyslexia people, and it cost like $100, and I could go to the Shank School down in Buckhead, and it was kind of the first time I got a chance to really understand dyslexia. We had to get tested, and they said, yes, you have dyslexia, but I'll give you the good news. Good news is you're going to see some people that's going to break your heart. Adults that can't read, can't do anything, function. And she was right. I mean, I'm in a class with these adults and they're doing various jobs, but they can't function because they have dyslexia. So the lady told me about one thing. It was Google's voice to text. And I never had heard about it. So I started voicing to text, which helped me to communicate. And then technology, fast forward about 10 years, technology caught up with it with Siri and all the ways that you now can voice to text. So I really got an understanding of sort of like I spoke to Tommy Nobis a week and a half ago, and the girl Megan Davis, we
Megan
were
Davis.
walking out. We walking out, and she said, "Man, I've never seen anybody," and I'll get emotional, connect with these kids like you did. They
Yeah.
were sharing their stories and their stuff, their journey. And I said, that's because I'm
That's
one
right.
of them. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand them. I understand depression. I understand suicide. I understand all the dark things when you don't fit in
Yeah.
to the world. So, you
Imagine what it was like. You're talking about the technology allowed you to communicate. Imagine what it was like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago for dyslexics. They were just dumb as
yeah,
far as society was concerned. They're just dumb,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. You were
Yeah.
a fish out of water.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I know ups and downs. I know dark times. I know good times. I mean, I always love people, but whenever I go into depression, I would pull back.
Yeah.
And I was kind of too proud. I went to a couple therapists and I didn't like them. So I quit after, 3 or 4 sessions because I would sit on a couch and it was like, so tell me what, it was just not a good thing. I just didn't pick good
They weren't
people.
as good at this interview thing as I am, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't, they didn't have a bright outlook
I
on
knew
life.
I knew that's what you were trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure. We talk about our active brains and being curious
Right.
and just asking people questions.
Yeah.
And that's was my whole life. So I love it.
Yeah. I you've always struck me as the poster child for perseverance. So yeah,
Yes.
which
The
maybe
you can't see it, but it's persevere is
yeah,
on the wall.
yeah. So in Jackie, I think that's why I like you so much. My wife Jackie, she wanted to figure out what to give the guy that has everything, and I don't have everything. But what do you buy for somebody for Christmas or for their birthday or whatever when they really don't need anything? What do you get them? And she made a little frame. This thing's maybe 12 by 12,
Mm-hmm.
and she put burlap on it, and she then put on it, never give up, never give up, never, never, never give up, which
Mm-hmm.
was Winston Churchill. He gave a commencement speech at, I think, Yale University shortly after World War II was over. And they asked him to come give the commencement speech. He had basically shepherded Europe through World War II. And they
Mm-hmm.
survived because of his dogged determination to never give up. And so he gets up at Yale University, and they're expecting him to wax eloquent for an hour, and that was his commencement speech.
Wow.
Never give up, never give up, never, never, never give up. And then he sat down, and he got a standing ovation. Number one, I think they wanted to get out of there and get to the parties, but it, how can you say it any better than
Yeah.
that?
It,
Yeah,
you'll never you'll always succeed if you never give up.
yeah.
Whatever you're trying to do.
Fran Tarkenton, you know who
Mm-hmm.
Fran Tarkenton is. Many of the
Oh, yeah.
people listening to this may not know who Fran Tarkenton is.
Yeah.
He's still in the top 10 in every NFL quarterback category that there is. Yeah, this was before you had spread offenses, but when it comes to passing yards, passing completion percentage, touchdowns, he's in the top 10 all time in so many of those categories. But those guys back then, they didn't make much money. He was the first ever draft pick of the Minnesota Vikings. They were an
Mm.
expansion team. He was coming off a great year at the University of Georgia. They needed a quarterback. That was their first pick of their franchise, was Fran Tarkenton. Well, I think he was making $10,000 a year. And so those
Wow.
guys had to work in the off season, and he was an entrepreneur. So he just started businesses, like a trucking business and a delivery business. And they had to have something they were doing in the off season. And he had failed at over 100 businesses,
Whoa.
but he just keeps trying. And he wrote a book called The Power of Failure.
Mm-hmm. I've
And
heard.
And it's a brilliant book. And if I remember one great nugget out of any book I read, I think it's a successful read.
Mm-hmm.
And the nugget I got out of that was fail fast and fail forward.
Yes.
So figure out if it's going to work or not. If you know that it's going to work, then persevere.
Yes.
But if you're in that inkling and you're like, yeah, this just isn't working the way I thought it was, cut that thing off at the neck, learn something from it so you don't make the same mistake twice in another business. That's the failing forward part. And the thing that I've always been impressed with you about is the fact that if something doesn't work, you just try the next thing.
Exactly.
And you learn from it and you keep pedaling. You just don't give up. So you're going through this entrepreneurial, phase, and you get hit with this really big sweeping curveball, called a stroke. Tell us about that.
That was the wake-up call of wake-up calls. I was doing some video. My wife at the time was out of town. The kids were busy at a birthday party. And I had virtually all day Saturday to catch up with stuff. And I always called myself a closet workaholic. I didn't want anybody to know I was a workaholic because I worked so hard, but I didn't really have anything to show for it, kind of, sort of like compared to others. So I'd sneak whenever there was a moment. I'd sneak. The girls would go to bed. I'd sneak up and do work. I'd get up 5 o'clock every morning and I do work before, everything got busy. But anyway, it's about 8:30 at night. I'd finished cleaning out the house, doing all this stuff, doing some work. I do a lot of what they call Pomodoros. I work for 50 minutes. I take a break. I work, I break. So I just kind of keep, I don't know, the energy level up. So I'm working at the computer and my eyes start to burn. And then I was going, wow, this is weird. And then
not like tired burning, like you gotta.
No, it was something was going on.
Yeah.
And I was at this desk that I'm out here, and then my left side just started to just go leave.
Yeah.
And I had my cell phone, my mobile phone on my desk. So all I had to do is hit the favorites and instead of calling 911, which I till this day don't know why I didn't do it because they have to do it. I called my wife at the time and she's out to dinner with her mom and hey, I can't hear you. I'll call you later. Hangs up. I'm going, oh, geez. Wait, because at that time I could speak.
Yeah.
Then I called my son-in-law, which I knew they were at a party. I didn't call my daughter because she doesn't answer the phone. So I call him. Well, my brother is Steve. They're right next to each other in the favorites. So he's in Charlotte area. Call him and he says, man, you been drinking? And he hangs up. So I'm going like, this ain't, and I'm right, and of course the left side's, I knew I was having a stroke.
It's like, this isn't your day.
This isn't working out. So I finally called my brother back and I said, don't hang up. And so I said, I think I'm having a stroke. And so his wife's a nurse. So that activated, all this stuff. And they come in and they're grabbing me and I go down the steps. I'm in a loft. And fortunately, you have that automatic door, or they had to break the door down because it was locked. But they got in, they got up. I remember going in the gurney, throwing up as we went down, everybody going, whoa! I mean, I'm glad I wasn't on the other side. Well, I wake up in the hospital the next morning. My first impression is I'm in heaven because it's white, cold. I'm just like, dang. And then I see a doctor, then I see family. I'm going, no, I'm okay. I mean, I wasn't okay, but I was like, complete left side gone.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything. So I spent 10 days in Wellstar, and that was, I tell people that was hell. And then I went to Shepherd. That was heaven. I mean, it was really a weird time. It was during the George Floyd era, and it was, I'm a white guy. The night nurses are not white. And so I was like the whipping boy for it. It was awful.
Hmm.
But one little thing from God, my daughter had had a stroke a year before that. And there was a nurse that Sarah came to visit that she recognized. And she goes, "Oh, Sarah," remembered her. That next day she came back to take care of me. It was the most incredible thing. She was so friendly, so nice, so giving. It was just like, even though it was bad, I mean, bad.
Yeah.
And one day, and she didn't come back until I got transferred to Shepherd. But it was Shepherd. I'm there, like I'm in a gurney. They're lifting my body up. A whole team of people. And so I had 49 days total, 39 days there to think. And that was the first time in my life that I had slowed down to think. I listened to worship music every chance I had my phone. I just listened to worship music at night, morning, praying, and just so, not that it was the best position to be in, because your whole left side's gone. You got to learn how to talk, eat, everything. Go to the bathroom. Nothing you can do by yourself. But there was one lady there. It was during the start of the Ukraine war, and she said, "Pete, can I share something with you, personal?" I said, "Yes. I'm not going anywhere." She said, "The type of stroke you had, most don't make it, and if they do make it, they're a lot worse." And I'm thinking, a lot worse? What do you mean? Total paralyzed? Like not make it, dead? So it kind of like a wake up call. Even though movement is the best thing and you're moving you around and they're, feeding you the way they feed you, I still thought it was a second chance in life.
Yeah.
That was when I said, I'm going to live every day like it's my last. And one day I'm going to be right, but until then, I'm gonna live it as full as I possibly can.
And when you say as full as you possibly can, what does that mean? Because it would mean a lot of different people. So what does as full as I can mean, knowing that you can come out of this workaholic attitude?
I love that. I love that question. What I do, I used to be, I don't know if the right word, timid about my faith. Always was in men's group, always, doing the right thing. But, when I'd come to read my Bible, it would be if I have time, kind of thing. But when that happened, I have no hesitation to share my faith.
Yeah.
None. I don't care what anybody says. I could care less what anybody says about what I do. I do what I just go out there. I have no filters. And that kind of what's the stroke. Whatever's on my mind comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it gets me in trouble, but I speak the truth. I share the truth. I love this podcasting because I've had some absolutely phenomenal guests on. And
Sure.
we've talked about our faith journey and just, things that I never would have spoke about before my stroke. So I live every day like I have fun from 3:30 in the morning till I go to bed at 8.
Mhm. And my story, and I've never had trouble sharing my faith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a salesman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the gospel needs to be sold. I think it just needs to be told, and then you let the Holy Spirit do what the Holy Spirit's going to do. We are strictly mouthpieces.
Right.
We're also life pieces. Yeah. So people, was it Augustine who said, Always share the gospel, and if necessary, use words. It's just our our life. Um, Another cliche, but we might be the only Jesus anyone ever sees.
Totally.
So I love telling people about my Jesus, and that's the way I put it. Anytime I get the opportunity, and I notice that you probably not before the stroke, like you said, but after the stroke, Jesus rolls off your tongue very,
Absolutely.
very easily, because there are so many things in life, whether it's a game of golf, which I know that might be the thing that you miss the most because you were a very, very good golfer. And, but whether it's a game of golf or whether it's a business deal or whether you're serving somebody, Jesus relates. Jesus relates to anything that we're going through at the time, anything we're contemplating at the time. And so for me to say, I just interviewed, a gal for Desktop, and and I said, give me a proposal. And she goes, now? I was like, no, take the weekend, take the weekend, give me a proposal, and we'll see what God does. And when I said that, she said, I am so glad that you mentioned God, because I love Jesus, and sometimes it's as simple as that, is just giving, credit where it's due, that this is a God thing we're contemplating. It's not a Dave thing. It's not a Sarah thing. It's a God thing. And we'll see if he's in it. If he's in it, we'll both know it. If he's not, we'll both know it.
Absolutely.
And so, okay, so now you are 5 years, 6 years post stroke. What does life look like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it'll be 4 in February.
4,
So,
okay. Yeah.
So I absolutely have the best time every single day. And what it is I get up early. I read my Bible first. I've been in Proverbs for probably 6 months. Oh, every day I read one verse. And so my small group will do some others, and different things like that. But that's the start of my day, not the end of my day. I think, I journal, I plan, and I implement every single day. And I meditate, I pray during the day. I pray for opportunities that I would be able to, God would put me in places that I could serve. So whether it's on a podcast, whether it's wearing a shirt that
Yeah.
I wear the shirt, I wear 2-color shoes for conversations. I just want to have a conversation with people.
Yeah.
And, and that's 90% of what I try to do is just talk to people. Just have meaningful conversations with people. I love to, I was walking in the gym this morning, and there was a guy got out of a truck, and he was a roofer. I said, I love roofers, just to break the ice. So I introduced myself. We're walking into LA Fitness, and I don't know how it came up, something about podcasting or something. I don't know. But he said, I invited him to be on a podcast. He says, long as I can bring Jesus, I said, I wouldn't want it any other way. I said, he's the best guest I've ever had, and I have him every podcast.
Or ever will have. That's right.
Yeah. And so I said, yes, we'll have a blast. I said, tell me about your journey with your company. And he shared, we're walking down, he's sharing how his company is just, they're on fire. There's a gentleman that runs that. There's 2 owners. One is seeking, one is, full on board, loving it. And he's seeing all these things that are going on. He goes, I can't explain it, but something is happening. And so he's seeking. And we just had, this was literally about 3 minutes of conversation, but a meaningful conversation, because he said he would bring Jesus. to the podcast. And I said, so we just, went from there. So, he
Do you remember?
hasn't just this morning.
Do you remember his name?
Alex.
I was wondering if it was, my Andrew Howell roofer, Right Roofing, because he loves Jesus in that way. He wants to bring him up in every conversation. And so,
I think there must be something about roofers. I probably know 5 roofers. They all love Jesus. They all love Jesus. It's kind of like
they're one shingle away from death, man. That's why.
Pardon?
They're one shingle away from death.
Yeah. It's like something about roofers. They're just like, they're on fire. They definitely, I've seen a pattern. I don't know if it's, just what I've seen, but that's what I've observed.
So what would you, I as I get older, I've thought a lot more about purpose. And, I believe that as Christians, we all have the same exact purpose. People struggle with that too much. But, and I think that our purpose, along with the Westminster Confession, basically is to know God better each day and to make him known to someone each day.
Yes.
That's our purpose. Now, we do it in different ways. You do it in podcasting. I do it, at a co-working space and through my real estate companies, because relationships, I think, are what Jesus, read the Gospels. He was going out of his way for relationship.
Yes.
Whether it was the Samaritan woman, whether it was the man in the Gerasenes, he was going, he could have gotten there this way, but he went this way so he could stop over here and minister to this woman.
Yep.
Or this way so he could cast out a bunch of swine, and save, this person who had been tormented. He was always about relationships, and he goes out of his way. And you and I have talked about this before, but in the morning, part of my prayer time is, who's it going to be today, Lord? Who's it going to be today? And you just said the exact same thing. It's, you get up, you have a routine, but people impact that routine almost like meteors entering our space, our atmosphere. What do we do with them? Is that your philosophy?
Totally. I'll tell you a quick story. My friend Barbara Hemphill, she's wrote The Taming of the Paper Tiger. I've known her for 25 years. And she sent me this like video one time, and she said, "Meet my new coach." And I thought it was like, meet my new coach. So, I didn't open it up because I was busy or something. And then she texted me again and said, "Hey, did you see my coach?" I said, "No, not yet." She goes, "Well, watch it." So I opened it up, and it wasn't what I thought. It was a gentleman. I don't even know his name, but I think he was either Indian or one other. He had an accent. But he said, "The church today is your business." People tend to be a little apprehensive about walking into a church. They may have had a bad experience as they were growing up, but the way you present yourself in business is the perfect opportunity to show the love of Jesus.
That's right. Yeah. Man, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm a believer first. I'm a child of the King who happens to be in the real estate business and the co-working business and the coffee shop business and the national relocation business, whatever other things that will allow.
Oops, you froze.
Share what God has given me with others who need it.
Yeah. You froze for seconds there, Dave. Say that again.
Yeah. I said, it's God puts us, in these positions to make him known. So regardless of the business I'm in, that's my first priority. Know him, make him known. So here I am. It's also, what can I do with what he's given me? Because these things are not my own.
Right.
Yeah, I've got 4 businesses. they're his. I've been stewarded with those businesses.
Yep.
They're his businesses.
Yep.
And so, I'm looking for opportunities, and Jackie is too. We're looking for opportunities, to provide for those that are his sheep as well, or maybe, our job is to steward those provisions well. And I know that you do the same thing. So, my friend, we are out of time. You're a great interviewer. I think you're even a better interviewee. You're a very interesting.
I will receive that. I want to tell the community one thing about you. Okay, share one thing about you. It was about a couple of years ago, and I was in a senior facility, and there was a person that obviously had some mental challenges. Mm-hmm. He was 6'5". He was a big guy, and he literally just attacked me over a remote control.
I remember.
I was shocked. For one, the person that ran the facility never did anything. And I was like, man, I got to go down the elevator with this guy every single day. I see him. He's in the same building. And I was frustrated with, what do I do? Because they're not doing anything. So I called you. And you called the police chief. And in literally 2 minutes, there was a knock at my door. And there was the detectives there. Now, what happened is you came to my aid, and I went through the process, scared the guy off because he saw that the police did come. I filed the report, all that kind of stuff through the officers, but you bailed me out of a really tough situation. So I appreciate you doing that, because I'm not 6'5". I didn't at the time have
Neither am I. Yeah. I can make a phone call with the best of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually pushed him back and threw him back with my right hand. But you were the guy I called to make things happen, to help protect me. So I appreciate that.
Even that is a God thing, because
yes,
Bill Westenberger had become a really good friend of mine, and I was like, he's given me this relationship. God has given me this relationship. I'm going to use it, not for my good, but hopefully for yours. And I think that guy moved out shortly after that, didn't he?
Yeah, excuse me for laughing. He passed away.
Oh, so, well, that's one way of moving out.
Yeah, but he left me alone. That was the thing. Yeah. I got mace, and I talked to the detectives, and they told me, look, there's so much more going on in our city. Simple battery is not going to be the highest priority. And I understood that. But he said, do this, file the report. So they gave me the ammo to protect, and I did. And that did work. So,
I'm glad that did. Brother,
okay.
Thanks for the time. Thanks for allowing me.
Hey, look, I've always thought you asked great questions, and it didn't change my mind one bit with this podcast, because you did ask some great questions, and I appreciate that. All right. Thanks, Dave. I think you're freezing up, but we appreciate you. Thank you for what you do in the community.
Thanks.